Hello and welcome to the AI Business Hour with Andy and John. And today is Thursday, March 20th, 2025. Today is the spring equinox, which is a very important day. And today is all about balance. Balancing is important, and balancing isn't easy. People say, oh, balance, it sounds like such an easy kind of thing to do. Not necessarily. Andy, how are you doing today?
Looks like we've got you, me, and the AI Biz Hour show. We are broadcasting live uh, on video. So if you want to watch the live stream and just want to listen in, you're fine. But we really appreciate when everybody comes and joins, speaks, reaches out, talks about stuff. And we're going to talk about AGI. Are we closer? I love to hear everyone's thoughts. I'd love to hear this conversation. So thanks, John, for bringing up such a great topic.
Of course, you're welcome, Andy. Yeah, I saw that there's, that's the top story. If you go to our Google Doc that's I always create for each show, the top story is Yang LeCun softens their AGI skepticism at the NVIDIA GTC event. And it seems that if you have multiple AIs working at the same time with an orchestrator, it can almost mimic AGI at this point in certain settings or processes. But I think that people are really starting to realize exactly what these things can do and their limitations. But the things are moving really, really fast. And Andy, you've been sharing to with me. You've been doing a lot locally on your computer and playing with some stuff. And I've been working with tech in schools for some things, and I was going to talk about that in a bit. But Andy, you want to talk about what you've been doing a little bit, and also Gemini now today is has Gemini in Visual Studio Code. I was just about to start to tweak with that, but then I had a meeting that I had to get to. But I'm super excited about looking about starting to play with that because I think that's going to save a huge amount of time.
Yeah, well, so I think it's cool, right? Using, anytime you can connect directly with one of the, integrated development environments like, VS Code or whatever, or VS Studio. I think that's, well, how do I know? Seems like it's a great idea. What I've been doing with LM Studio is working on the same business model I've been mentioning before, which is, creating a private, secure LLM that will function as kind of a repository of your company intellectual property. And I've been, you can do that now, but all your stuff is shared across whatever platform you're using. And so I'm building a private and secure one. And it's turned out that it's kind of interesting. There's 3 or 4 different pieces to that. The first one is I've had some business owners ask me, can you just create one where if they have a question about HR or the policy or the calendar or whatever, that they can, like an internal, kind of like an internal frequently asked questions? Can you just do one of those? Well, of course we can, right? And then people have asked, well, can you just do one that will do that with a voice to answer people's questions? I'm like, yeah, I know you can do it. I haven't built one yet, but trying that. And then the last one was something along the lines of, can it be secure and private for the general manager to use as opposed to kind of the everything everywhere? I'm like, yeah, we can build one of those. In fact, I was on a DM chat last night with someone uh, who has franchises and wants to do things to share information with the franchisees when they don't, or the people who work in that organization that only have a problem show up every once in a while and they're not sure what to do with it. Instead of having to call someone or having somebody on the phone or whatever, they can just hit up this little, private manager chat bot and say, what do I do if? and then put in their question, and it will give them an answer, or it will tag them and say, "It's a good question. We'll get back to you." And then it sends a note to somebody else and says, "We don't have an answer for this. Let's go fix one." And so, as a way of completing that whole kind of circle of businesses, that's what those business owners have been asking me. So, as I'm kind of probing this idea to people that I know and people who I don't really know, but who want to find out, I'm getting these amazing questions. I also found out something super interesting. Um, my test machine is a Mac Mini M1, about 3 years old, 4 years old, that has an M1 chip and 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's it, simple, like cheap $250 box. And the answers when I try to run the LM Studio, the Gemma model with 12 billion parameters. It's Gemma 3, 12B, 12B meaning 12 billion parameters. I get good responses, but it's kind of slow, as you can imagine, because it's using the majority of the RAM. When I use the 4 billion parameter one, it's faster, but the answers are relatively the same. So last night I tried using the 1 billion parameter model, which is super fast on this machine because it only takes up 1 gig of RAM, essentially, actually a little bit less than that. And then it uses the rest of it to do the processing and produce the output. Responses are almost exactly the same. So it seems like when you're doing kind of basic business things, basic marketing things, basic cohort, basic content development, basic kind of creation that doesn't require a lot of 2 or 3 step reasoning, um, the smaller models can work very effectively to answer the questions and produce, formatted results in a table or in a graph or in a picture. So I I found that was a really interesting discovery that I did last night, to show. And I actually built. So I built a mod because one of the things that's been in the back of my mind from all of our conversations is how do you build a better prompt? So I asked 3 or 4 models, "How do I build a better prompt?" And it gave me a structured format to put my prompt into so that it would generate a better prompt and give me the reasoning, what it needs, what could be better, what could be added, and then it added those pieces. Then I copy that prompt into a new window and say, "Run this." And I am getting better, quantitatively better results, and qualitative from my view, better results. So I posted that in my feed, um, where here's the prompt to create better prompts, and I posted that in my feed. Also, if you join my community, you can get more of those things. I post a bunch of stuff about that in my community, but my community is focused on helping people who feel stuck in their lives and careers move forward. And so as you if you're feeling stuck, not use, outside of the AI tools, right? If you're feeling stuck, you can, join the community, join my newsletter, and you'll get that kind of information. But I'm using AI to, you know, work that and call that and get that information up, even more effective and better, more action oriented towards helping people more. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. So that's what you asked. Fantastic. Let's go back to the really cool stuff in the news. I think the news and guests are way more important than listening to me talk. So yesterday I talked for an hour. Then you guys went on and talked for 2 hours. I listened to the recording. It was way more fun listening to you guys than listening to me. So I I would love having everybody take the mic, ask your questions, so I can help and think about those conversations instead of just giving you my opinion, which you know maybe it has some validity,
Andy,
but
people love your
better
voice.
with everyone
They
than
love
just
your
with me. How about that?
personality, your wisdom, your knowledge. You have a good fan base, huge fan base here on X. One thing I was going to get to is yesterday we had a discussion about um uh, uh, the AIs within business and what is the potential. And Sanan talked about how there has to be a human being to sign off. And today, there, the idea that because there's risk involved with these AIs, and especially with your company or if you have private information or what have you. But there's a post that I reposted today, and it's from CYTEX. AI is transforming business from customer service to executive decision makings. LMs are a critical mission, but with innovation comes risk, data leaks, compliance failures, and unchecked reliance on unverified outputs. And supposedly, this product, enter AI Centurion, fixes that issue. But if you want to look more at that, but that was something that we had a major discussion about yesterday, and how it's not wise to just let these things run away on their own without some type of supervision, because at this point they're not ready for prime time 100% unsupervised. Um,
John, is anything ready for prime time? I mean, what do you mean by I get it, but, anything ready for prime time? I mean, ChatGPT is so we can do answers and questions, but I think
No,
Shannon
no,
yesterday said all the stuff we're doing is
the
toys,
other
right?
day, I posted a picture, that was all messed up, and it was these people riding a wave, and it said it's something like, "Be future ready," which was your quote, but the picture was kind of, you know, it wasn't right, but that was the point of posting the picture, because yeah, I mean, I just did something with Grok today, and because it's the spring equinox, it had these goddesses frolicking in nature next to a river, and you really start to look at the images, and there's things there that are really kind of messed up. So no, I mean, even I created a very stellar report the other day I'm really proud of, but it took using multiple tools and really putting in, my knowledge into it to make it hit the marks had a wow factor. But yeah, I don't know what is. Have you had experiences where you feel like, oh, it's good to go? Because yeah, if you miss something, it just like that attorney who put in paperwork for a case, and there was a case law cited that never existed. And also the report that I made yesterday was stellar, or the other couple days ago. But then I went in and I said, so these little bits of information you put in here, this is synthetic data. You didn't really get that. And it was like, oh yeah, that's right. But it's still a good report, and I can say, once we get the contract, we will fill in the right data, because they have the data, we don't have it, so I can't really uh do do it completely. And but yeah, there's you got to really double check these things before you let them out the door. Juan Carlos.
Yeah, so along those lines, I think that there's two different constraints, and for one, I don't know what the conversations are like, but I would imagine that almost all um, of the AI companies have had some type of backroom conversation with government officials where it's like, hey, what extent of this are we actually achieving? Because at some point, and this is probably talked about preemptively rather than reactively, at what point does the government need to step in, or at what point do they need to act as a filter, or whatever conversations they would have? Because at the end of the day, AI as the rawest form of what it has potential to be is honestly equivalent to like nuclear technology. Somebody can easily weaponize AI. So I think there's one constraint there that has to be considered. But in terms of the other side of things, I think Shannon brought this up like a week or so ago about negative prompting, because AI truly does, and in terms of like the synthetic data example that you just gave, because I see a lot of that in deep search results as well. Even with reports where it's like, oh, I've gone through 180 sources, and it's like, well, why is there synthetic data here still? Like, why are you still hallucinating? I don't understand. And the reality of the situation is that somewhere along the lines of the basic prompting for most of these AIs, and you can just counteract that with your own prompting, but they really do work in the sense of getting you the answer that you're looking for the best way and the fastest way possible. Like it's like, oh well, if the objective is XYZ output, well then here's what I'm going to do to be able to make that happen as efficiently as possible by whatever parameters. So I think between those two different constraints, it'll be a while before we actually see like applied AGI. Only because for one, on one hand, like, is that even going to be allowed at the consumer level, um, and at just like basic pricing consumer level? And then on the other side, like, won't it always kind of like my point on the second part is that it's going to be a while before AI truly gives us the best answers that are not just about the tokenization of the input, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I mean,
I say one thing for 2 seconds. Oh, sorry.
yes, of course.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I love his approach to the small bandwidth machine and like pen testing almost. But like now is the time to get serious. If you read the articles, like 7 months apparently we're getting leapfrog. Sorry, I haven't slept in like 3 days. Um, yeah, like we got to get some collaboration and stop the VC,
Wait, yeah,
if you
we
will.
gotta define what you're talking about. So in 7 months, we're gonna be leaped frog? What,
Let me open my Facebook post.
eh,
Apparently,
what
I only go there for certain reasons to show the very few people left in my following. But if you look into Manus AI and butterfly effect and what China's doing in Wuhan, that's all I have to say. It's scary if it's real. So
what are you talking about? There's there's so much gobbly
we have too much people. I'm not opposed to making money, but we have too many people not trying to collaborate. And if we're not careful, we're going to have the same thing with autonomous cars, or what happened with autonomous cars, where there's tons of funding everywhere and no collaboration and nothing getting done in terms of nation state espionage with small machines. That's why I think Andy's idea is great. And I also am coming upon other information, but I can't say it.
Okay. My my thought was helping individual business owners become more effective in their companies, make their companies more solid, and help those owners get prepared for the inevitable exit of their company. Right? Everybody leaves their company. Whether you either the company either goes under, the company is either given or sold to somebody else, or you retire, die, and it just goes away, right? You just shut it down. So one is you can't succeed because you can't get enough customers to make enough revenue to stay profitable. Number two is when you want to walk away, you retire, leave, sell the company or give it to somebody else, and then they take over the company, which then they have the same problem. And then the third thing is that in many cases, unfortunately, the owner passes away or stops working, and when they walk away, the company just stops, right? I mean, that's what Cody Sanchez's whole thing is about. Hey, there's a whole bunch of people who are going to walk away from their business, and you can go in there and say, I'll take over your business for a small amount. You were just going to shut it down and walk away. Why don't you just sell it to me for $1 or for something else? And I'll just at least keep it running and keep your customers happy and do other things. So it's a different idea, a different concept. My whole thought was very simply these there's a ton of people who are getting ready to think about or willing to do that step. It's a small investment to say, here's a $15,000 system that you get a device, you plug it in to your stuff, you spend a little bit of time doing some configuration, or you hire the company to do some configuration. And now you can use the power of natural language processing, English speaking to computers and get out things like, what were my total invoices for last month without having to go to a spreadsheet or a report? How much did I actually spend? What was the total cost of materials? How many customers did we gain? How many customers did we lose? How many sales did we make? How many blah blah blah? You just start asking questions, and you can start creating some kind of set of reports for each individual business, not the standard stuff you get in business class, not the standard stuff in an MBA class, but you can actually ask questions about your business that most people, that in my experience, most business owners don't know, right? If you ask them, how much did you do last month? They're going to tell you. And I'm like, you know what? If you and I are having a conversation at lunch privately and I'm helping you, tell me exactly what's the number. And then I ask them some other simple questions like, how much is in your bank account right now? How much do you have outstanding? What's your current accounts receivable? What's your current accounts payable that you haven't sent yet? Right? What is still loading in that net 30 term window or that net 45 term window that you have as outstanding payments in your accounts payable you don't even know, right? Just simple questions that first of all, they're simple to ask. They're difficult. Every single company has a difficult way of answering this, but an LLM can process and calculate things so much easier and faster than everybody else. There's no reason why you can't have answers to those things. And they should say something like, just a minute, it's this much. Okay, well, what do you think it should be? I don't know. Hey, on the 15th of every month or on the 20th of every month, what should it be? Where is it normally? Are you above or below that? I mean, these are standard kind of business administration questions, right? Kind of that MBA general manager question material if you're an owner, operator, general manager, partner, whatever. These are questions that you have to have available to you at any time you ask. You don't need to know them every second. Some of them are, it's helpful if you do. But if you know them, if you have them available to you, you can be much more effective and much more effective in ways that matter. Like if somebody says, hey, I'm really interested in becoming a partner with you, and they ask you some questions, you can answer them, which then creates a sense of credibility and competence that is difficult to prove. If you go to the bank and you say, I'm looking to expand and I need blah, 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 $2 million or $20 million or whatever, and here's what my plans are, that banker is going to ask you questions about your financials, about your total number of what's your customer acquisition, just stuff that is easy to do. It's in every MBA book. It's in every marketing book. You can go listen to a bunch of podcasts and get all the right questions to ask. That's easy to do. What's difficult to do is get the answers at any moment of any one of those questions, because it requires you to have a data set that you can then capture to do the right calculation to get the answer that's asked. And that's what most people lack. They don't lack the information. They know how many sales calls they made. They know how many marketing calls. They know how many outreaches they did. They know all of this stuff. But what they don't know is what was the percentages of those things in comparison to last month or this month or next month? What's their projection for next month? What's their spend going to be for the next quarter for outreach and everything else? Are they increasing? Do they need more people? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I can just go on and on forever. But the point is, a simple little device that is relatively small cost. Now, let's say 15, 20, $100,000 is a big cost to somebody. But if it increases the value of your company by 2, if it makes your company from a 1.5x multiple, in other words, when you sell your company, it's worth 1.5 what the owner takes home, and you turn that into and you double it and you make it into a 2.5 or a 3, all of a sudden, whatever the owner takes home, it's now, his company is now worth double. It's easy to make the investment of 25 or 50 or $100,000 to get those answers so that your company now is worth twice as much money. And I'm talking about a little $3 million company, a $5 million company, a 10 million, a company that's got 5 to 20 employees that's doing $3 to $5 million, because most companies get stuck at about 3 million or they get stuck at 10 million. And either they want to increase, which means they have to change all their processes, or they want to sell, which means somebody else has to come in and do the same thing they're doing, which never happens, by the way. It doesn't work that way. But the point is, this little device meaning it's a machine you plug into your network and you have a web interface that you can use as the owner, operator, general manager to answer these questions, is extremely valuable. And then there's a whole bunch of other things we've talked about in the past, which I don't want to go over again. But the point, Kyle, is separate, private, and secure, not connected to the internet, not using somebody else's platform, using your platform that you own. Now that is not just a machine that gives you answers, but it also becomes intellectual property. It's IP asset of your company, which everybody has, and very few people know how to quantify or explicitly state or capture or monetize. And this is a way that can do that. So that's why I keep doing these tests and keep trying to do it. And the reason why I'm talking about it is not because I'm afraid someone's going to steal the idea. I'm pretty sure everyone else is already doing this.
No, I didn't mean to say that, Andy. I'm just
No,
saying
I'm with you.
what you're
I'm
doing could
not
be
saying that.
repurposed. You can kill two birds with one stone and help nation state espionage, which is the problem with
Yeah,
people
and,
sometimes. Like,
yeah, but yeah, come on.
no.
I'm just a
Okay,
little
one more
old
thing. What if you help the
nobody,
little
right?
guy? What if
Nation
you help
state
that?
espionage. That's a whole different world, man.
I'm just
That
talking about, okay, that's the kind of the world I'm going to, but what if you help the little guy in debt collections or people that need help with their own finances, and in turn they have more money and better credit and can spend more for the business owners? I'm just curious.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point, right? The business can go to the bank and say, "This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm gonna expand," and then they can just start dropping answer after answer after answer after answer after answer and live in front of the banker with their phone saying, "I have a system that does this. That system is the value add to my company, and this is what we should be." And then trust me, you demo something like that in front of bankers, in front of, finance people, it it's a shocker. It is not just a, "That's cool." It's a, "How the hell do I get one of those?" Because everybody wants one, and the vision I have isn't quite baked yet. It's just the right direction. I know that I'm wrong about 80% of what I'm talking about, but I know that in there is the nugget of that next thing that every single business is going to have, right? Every business right now has a funnel and an email and maybe a domain. Not everyone, but most of them, meaning they don't have a fax machine, they don't have paper files, they don't have paper books and they don't have that stuff. They've moved kind of more into a more modern space. But let's face it, the majority of successful business owners in small businesses are old guys. And my mentor taught me this. He goes, "Andy, why are there a bunch of old guys running companies instead of a bunch of young guys right out of college?" I said, "I don't know, Doug." And Doug said, "It's because they've been kicked in the teeth and in the ribs more than everybody else. And they know where to be cautious and they know how to survive. If you're 25 or you're 30 years old, you have not swam in the ocean in the bloody tank with the sharks and survived. You just haven't yet, right? And the old guys have. And if they continue to survive, then those are the guys you want on your side. Trust me, you want those old cagey guys to be on your board of directors helping you with everything, regardless of what it is, because business is not rocket science. It's simple. It's just really hard to do. It's like chess, easy to explain, lifetime to master. Sorry, I'm going to get off my chair again, John. I'm going to give you back the mic.
Would Andy, everybody really loves your wisdom. You've been out there all over the world in many different experiences. I just need to do some house cleaning. Everybody, please follow myself, follow Andy, sign up to Andy's newsletter, sign up to my newsletter. Also, please, if you have networks, if you have communities, take this link and share it. Listen to Andy, listen to our space yesterday 5 times. Is that correct, Andy? 5 times you listened to it because of the gems that were in there that were given by Sannon and other people that were high level business. What would you call it? Why did you listen to it 5 times, Andy? Please explain.
Well, I listen to, I always listen to everything we do for two reasons. One, find out what I said, if I was an idiot or not. Secondly, to make sure that I become a better speaker. So it's just practice and training for me. It's like watching game film. I just do it again. But after I left, you guys had some amazing conversations. And I hit the rewind button 4 or 5 times because I heard what was said. And the first time it was like, "Hey, that's cool." And the second time it was like, "Ooh, wait a minute." And then the third time was like, "I got to write this down." And the fourth time was, "Okay, wait, I got to go back and do it again because what? Wait, how?" And then just one phrase that Sannon said about, here's what he said. He goes, everything we're doing in AI right now are simply toys, and nobody is looking at it from an operational efficiency perspective. Now, that hit me because for 25 years, I have done projects all over the world, changing organizations from one thing to a new thing on the hopes of every one of them becoming more effective in their operations, right? Always on the fulfillment side of delivery, right? A better software tool, a more effective reporting, blah, 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 stuff. And what he said made me think like he's right. You know, there are so many big companies, so many government agencies that are grossly inefficient. I mean, look at what Elon is finding with things like there's a department with 300 people and they have 35,000 seat licenses for a software product. Well, that's extremely inefficient, right? But on the other hand, even those 300 people are probably using that tool. It's like they were given a Ferrari and they drive it around in first gear, and they're using it to carry dirt instead of turning in the Ferrari, getting a dump truck, teaching two people how to drive it, and then carrying 10 or 100 or 1,000 times the dirt. That's what he's talking about. And and when he said that, it really hit me because that's where I've lived in, you know, I mean, you got to look at it this way. If you have 2,000, roughly 2,000 billable hours a year, I usually work more than that. And okay, so let's say 2,000 hours a year I spend on this thinking about these kind of ideas. That means you're talking about 10 to 20, maybe 25,000 hours of my life has been spent focused on these kind of ideas and tools and helping, you know, big organizations that impact millions of people have solved this problem, right? So what Shannon was talking about was solving, 2, 3, 4 million, 20 million, $200 million problems, not not how do I make an extra, 200,000 a year as a developer helping people solve the problems. Now he was talking about at, let's say, the department level of all of healthcare services for California, 40 million users, 40 million people in California. And that department, which has 10,000 people in it, is trying to help solve the problems of those 40 million people. And Shannon was saying AI can be a super helpful tool, but we're just playing with toys. And we haven't applied that directly to making those 10,000 people more effective to serve the 40 million. That's that's what he was saying. That's the way I took it. So whether he said that or not, whether he meant that or not, that's the way I'm taking it. So I'm going to live on that hill. But that's what made me think so much because you know, I have spent lots of hours helping organizations serve hundreds of millions of people, and these are hard problems to deal with. And he's right. We're on the tip of the spear how to help use or utilize these tools to make things easier, better, faster for all of the people that we're serving. So anyway, that's why.
Yeah, that's it, it's a different skill set than when you're in the trenches just trying to solve a problem as opposed to look at it from 30,000 view using first principles or whatever you're going to have to understand how do we make this more efficient, and then understanding the AI tools, that's going to be the big problem, right? That's got to be solved over the next couple of years. um, if you want to put any
No,
button on the top of
Lloyd's had
that,
his hand.
and then we'll let Lloyd talk.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no, Lloyd's had his hand up for a while. Let's hear what he has. I've already said my piece, so let's hear what others have to say.
Lloyd, how are you doing
I'm
today?
great. I'm great. I don't think that you're 80% wrong on anything that you said, Eddie. I think, a lot of this is all right on the money. It is, it is about um, making it as useful as possible. And then even with some of the questions, like a lot of the stuff that, the questions you're talking about asking is like, knowing your port, knowing your number. Like these are things about if you don't know these things, you don't know your business. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know their numbers. They don't know these things. So having a way to, having a way to easily access these things at a moment notice is super important, especially looking at getting funding or you're looking at, some type of way of getting an investor. Like you really can't, substitute that. And I think uh, that's a real use case. Obviously other use cases or some of the situations you mentioned, like some of the people who are doing things manually, I think that's also where a lot of opportunity is. Like the opportunity in AI is not enjoying the arms race because that all the big guys are going to be part of that. The opportunity in AI is bringing high tech to low tech spaces. Spaces that don't really usually get to take advantage of advanced systems, but bringing them and making and showing them, yo, your life could be this much easier just by a simple implementation. So it's going to require demonstration for sure because not everyone is abstract thinking. Not everyone even is one of those people who just you just tell about it. You have to be able to demo it. And it's in demoing it that people start to see the vision, start to see the power, and start to envision it for their business or even themselves. I did a demo, just a simple chat GPT demo in front of some people where I was showing vision. I was, asking some questions about a variety of things, and it blew people's minds. So now I'm doing classes on AI just off a simple demo that people are paying to attend just because they was like, oh wow, I need to learn how to do that. But if you don't make it visible and tangible for the average person to see it, they don't even know how interesting they think AI is something way beyond them or something more complex or just something that's going to take their job or take opportunity for them. Not understanding that no, AI isn't here to take your job. That's not what AI is going to do. AI is going to enable you to do more complicated things you ever could do before. Thinking about like using AI because of the calculations and things that's going to be able to take place at a moment's notice without you having to know how to program, you'll be able to do things like design a car, design a spaceship. You could be an architect of your own building, your own spaces without having the advanced knowledge because AI is going to be able to allow you to do that and that's something that you wouldn't be able to do before. So we'll be able to build more advanced things, more advanced businesses. Now when we think things have excelled. Now wait till everybody has access to AI.
Uh,
Yeah, but
uh,
Lloyd, you make a great point. Everybody has access to the internet right now. Everybody has access to free Perplexity, free ChatGPT, free Gemini, right? Um, but that's not the you're spot on, exactly right. But they don't know how to use the tool. They don't know what to ask. They don't know what it is. So the way that we can help them is by showing them how to solve one single problem using AI consistently.
we-
And then they'll be able to use that to think of the next two a couple things to solve. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When everybody has it and everyone can use it, it's going to be interesting. It's going to level the playing field for sure.
Yeah, I was talking to a kid at the shoe store. He's a very brilliant kid, super brilliant, knew everything about shoes and like knew what to suggest just based on what I was asking him. And I was just like, we started having a conversation. I was telling him just like how brilliant I thought he was as a salesperson because of how knowledgeable he was. And I asked him, does he use AI? And he's like, I don't need AI. I can write my own papers. And I was like, write your own papers. Is that all you think that AI is useful for? Dude, that's not even the tip of the iceberg. And I started just to break down like different ways in which you can use it. And I told him like, like, what are you interested in? You ever want to start a business? Like, ask it questions pertaining to that. Like, start asking about anything you're interested in. So the next time I saw him, he had a whole different attitude about AI just off of that conversation. And so it's really about like us shaping the mindsets too. Not only just helping them solve a problem, but whatever these kind of like the problem is everybody started using AI for very, very tedious things. Like tedious like things that really ain't that big of a deal, right? Instead of doing the stuff that's like super freaking cool, right? And so that became the mainstream use case. It's just people trying to just get away with doing shortcuts as opposed to, saying like, hey, this is gonna make your life significantly easier by doing this. or having it, write out your whole, like doing the research and then writing an article, doing the, like you can now with deep research, right? Or a ton of other things that, I'm not going, I don't want to hold you too long, but, you know, changing the people's mind or give them insight to how AI can actually make their life better is really where, it starts so that people can actually start to utilize the tool to do a lot of the revolutionary things that it's capable of doing.
Lloyd, I'll get Shannon. You mentioned that you are speaking to people. So I basically recently I did research on you know companies that are offering AI, reviews of about people for people who've created AI agents. Nothing. There's nothing out there. And so you can't market something, or I don't think it's very difficult to market something where there's no verbiage, where there's no understanding, where it's just an empty hole. So I think that the webinar or going out there and doing the education is the only way to do it, and the best way. How are you solving that problem? And then we'll go to Shannon.
Well, I mean, the basic thing is, I try to let people see how they can use, AI and whatever they're already doing, right? Because I mean, obviously you got to make it practical. You got to make it seem like, make it realistic for them, right? Not, hey, you can go do some stuff that I've never done before, never been interested in doing. So, typically it's just about like, for example, if somebody's doing, so well, I give you example. So I was dealing with a lawyer. So, I told him like, you could pretty much darn near, you know, eliminate the need for a paralegal with where AI is currently is right now as far as the ability to do research and reference, cases and things of that sort. So I just started to like ask it questions in front of him pertaining to like, well, I said, I have a lawyer here, and what could you do to make their life easier as a lawyer? And it started to tell, well, I can help them, I can help them, uh, search, well, I can help them choose, or decide which clients to take on and brief on. I can set up scheduling, schedule appointments. I can, uh, write up briefings. Like it just went down the whole list. So I let AI actually answer the question itself instead of me trying to sell him on it. I let ChatGPT answer it for him. And then, I encouraged him to ask it more questions because he knows more about what questions to ask in his field than I do, right? And so once I kind of made him comfortable enough to start exploring it himself, now all of a sudden he's sold because, you know, we don't even have to sell like AI. It's like trying to protect the lion. You don't need to protect the lion. If the lion is going to protect you and protect itself, right? And so that's really what you have to do is just get because like if you whatever you want to learn about, AI, as far as these large language models, all you have to do is ask it, and it can sell itself better than you can.
Yep, that's right. That's what I was telling my brother yesterday. He's like, "Well, what?" I was like, "Just ask it what your problem is and how to work with it to get the problem solved." Shannon, what would you like to add to the conversation?
Hey, John. Hey, Andy, Yapper, Giancarlos Lloyd, Jonathan, everybody else. Cool discussion. I love thing that Andy mentioned earlier, and also Lloyd touched on it in terms of data and AI use. So the general problem among the analysts is that 9 out of 10 of them have no clue what they're doing. An analyst of everything, financial, marketing, whichever one. 11 out of 10, I know this will sound ridiculous, 11 people, business owners out of 10 are just collecting data. So that's the report, what already happened. And I have big problem when people come and say, oh, I'm data driven. Okay, how you are data driven? You collect the data, you have the reports, you see it, and that's it. Are you using these reports to predict? What are the, I don't know, odds, sort of say, that next year in this period, you are going to acquire this amount or same amount of the customers like you did this year. I'm mentioning this as a problem, it really doesn't matter who owns the AI. If they don't know to use AI in terms of the future seeing, or let's say seeing coming things, it will really not change much. We will just have yet another assistant, like we already did have with the Google Assistant, Siri, Bixby, and all of them. We will have a summary tool, what we can also pull out through the documents and stuff by searching the particular keywords, and so on and so on. I think the data, the foundation of the data and data strategy is the biggest problem humanity is facing. We do not understand, we do not see it, how to use it. And if we are not using data to predict outcomes, we are not data driven. We are just collecting data and it doesn't mean nothing because you all, like Candy said, you already know how much sales you did, you already know how much you did of everything. But if you are not able to know or potentially assume conservatively analyzing what's the probability for something to happen in like whenever, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if you're using an AI and you're not able to plug in the data and ask it the right questions. So that's another reason why I said yesterday that everything we are building are toys, like literally toys. Hey, look how I can prompt to create a picture. Who cares? Who cares? That picture has zero value, literally zero value. Oh, I can produce video. Awesome. Imagine the time you've spent prompting that LLM to build out the image for you, that you invested to read one cool book or that somebody suggested. I guarantee you that out of that book, you will make more value for yourself than, oh, this image is amazing. So that's the again thing at its root being the problem. Even we are living in a fully like 360 data environment. We do not understand that, and that goes back to the reading and consuming information. Oh, I read in a newspaper there is somewhere chaos. Okay, what you know, what from or how did you interpret the information you read yesterday, so you will know that today is going to be chaos. And all of a sudden, every time we are surprised. So just wanted to add this, not in a negative way, like don't take me wrong, I'm just saying like it really doesn't matter what we are using if we are not aware of these things. What's possibility for tomorrow? Because just banal thing, I remember my grandma, she will go to sleep and she will look at the sky. Oh, it's a red sky. Tomorrow is going to be like freezing. I was like, oh, she's old. Tomorrow it is freezing. There is no enough heat or jacket to like get you warm. So this kind of thing. Hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Son, and thank you, Lloyd. I really appreciate what you were saying. Yeah, Andy, do you have something you want to add on to that? Just in terms of, I mean, you work with productivity and trying to get the most out of a team to complete a job. Uh, where does this land?
Well, teams are made up of humans. When we start to offload some of those tasks to AI, you're going to have a different dynamic. Let's just put it that way, right? Some good, some bad, some different dynamics. And we'll have to all adjust to that. AI will take away or change some basic functions, right? Uh, it just It's just going to. I don't know exactly what they are. I think I know. I kind of suspect them. We can kind of all agree, but until it actually happens, it's still just again future thinking, and that's okay. Until we do it and test it and validate that it works or works well enough or works consistently, that it can quote unquote replace things, replace a person. Great, but just like when you try to do an autopilot for an airplane or an autopilot for a car, The basics are easy. The 80-20 rule is still true. And it's more like the square root of the total is the unique problems you have to deal with. And so if you have 10 things and you can do 7.5 of them, and everybody can do that. But it's that last 2.5 things that are unknown unknowns. We don't know what we don't know to fix. But with our human reasoning and human capabilities, we figure out a way to swerve out of the way of a gumball machine that fell in the road. How do you program in advance a gumball machine falling in the road? You don't know that, right? But you can, uh, over time, you can get closer and closer and closer to 100, but it's never 100. Even with humans, that's why there are, quote, accidents. Accidents happen because of unknown unknowns. You don't know that if you turned in front of that car at that speed, that car flips over and smashes on top of your car. There's 100 ways to describe the problem, but the truth is we're never perfect. Never. We are always close. And what we try to do is fail at a 0.001% instead of at 100%. And if you start doing anything, you're going to not land at half right and half wrong. You're going to land at mostly wrong. And then you learn some things, and then you get closer to 50%. When you get to 50%, where you're half the right and half wrong, you're average and pretty good. When you start getting into the point where 60 to 70% of the things you do are right, and only 20 to 30% of your deeds are wrong, you can start investing in the stock market and become a billionaire. Because if you're 70% right in the stock market, you are a freaking god. You are a billionaire, right? Most of the indexes are in the less than 50% right, right? The problem is that you could only be 20% right with leverage and still become a billionaire. But if you're ever in any part of your life 60, 70% right all the time, you are a stud in that area. We tend to think of technology as being 0 or 100%. Never 100%. Your system is built on top of 10 or 15 layers of systems, technologies, physical hardware technologies, and software technologies that stand on top of the shoulders, on top of the shoulders, on top of the shoulders, on top of the shoulders of giants. Every one of those things has some level of imprecision, and those things multiply against each other over time. And in order to be successful in the world we're talking about, which is how do we utilize AI to become AGI, artificial general intelligence, things that could say, take my car down to the school and pick up my kids and bring them home. That's kind of artificial general intelligence. It would say, oh, it's 2:45. I need to leave now to go pick up the kids and get in line and then drive up, open the door. The kids get in the car, they close the doors, and it drives home autonomously. That's kind of a AGI use case. First of all, that doesn't happen right now. It can kind of happen,
Y-
but not every single day,
So,
right?
so I just asked for a little research. No synthetic data, and this is interesting. So as of March 20th, today, spring equinox, AI is significantly infecting job market, particularly in occupation and routines. Automated task jobs like claims adjusters, examiners, investigators are seeing projected declines of 4.4%. It says by 2023. So that's speculation. I asked for what's going on with the job market today. While credit analysts and insurer appraisers for auto damage face declines, 4% to 9% respectively, due to AI tool automating tasks like damage assessment and credit scoring. However, this isn't just about job loss. AI is driving growth in fields like software development, expected to increase by almost 18%, 17.9%. Personal finance advising up by 17% as it enhances productivity in these areas. So we're not going to see a linear thing going in one direction where, you know, th- I the people that have these dystopian predictions, all the jobs. I saw Andrew Yang yesterday saying, "Oh, we have to have universal income because all the jobs are going to be gone by 2030 or whatever." And it's like, what's his angle on that? Because everybody knows that's absurd. Or that's my opinion of it. Let's go to Jonathan and then Yelp, unless you have a comment on what I just said, Andy.
Hey, I think Yep was before me.
The Yap, what's going on?
Not much. I have just something I was gonna just add really small because Lloyd was perfect with what he said. He added what he's doing is what everyone should be doing. But I wanted to say there's a professional soccer player that actually ran a bunch of data through an DeepSeek, or I forget what AI, or LM, and he pretty much, for his next two games that was like really big World Cup stuff, he ran a bunch of data through of where because most of these games end up with like a kickoff or something. So he figured out where his opponents would kick. And the times that he doubted the AI is the times that he missed, and they pretty much made the goals. The times that he actually took the data, as Shannon said, we're all data, and knew majority of where the person was going to hit when he hit the ball, even if he fakes a certain way, you knew exactly when he was faking. He blocked 99% of the shots. There was one time that a ball barely got by, but it was a fluke. And that just shows you that you even have professional soccer players, you have people that are looking at data. BlackRock, one of the biggest financial people that everyone talks about. Aladdin, go look it up. It's what we consider an AI today. They've been using that for years. They've updated to something a little better, but that's pretty much what they've been using. Then management for business. I don't know the guy's name. I'm trying to remember, but he works with places like Nike, Reebok, state defense, the State Department defense, and he goes in there and he helps with getting their organization better, getting their management, and he's working with us to build an AI solution so he can just implement those where he doesn't have to go to all those places and he could be more places at one time. So it's not taking his job, it's amplifying him because they're still going to pay him to do what he does, but now he can go to places and pretty much be there at all times. So it's things like that that are going to amplify a person that really knows what they're doing and make them greater, as Lloyd said, instead someone that just justifies about, oh, this is just going to take my job. Because as Andy pointed out earlier, we've had the internet for how many years? People still don't go on and learn things because you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And Lloyd, what you said was beautiful. That ends my yap.
Andy, thank you for the Yap.
Yep. Thanks, Yapper. I agree with that. That I have to go. I have another meeting in a minute. So please continue. Please follow John. Follow the Startup Circle. Join what we're doing. We've got a lot of things planned. We've got a lot of stuff coming on. We do have a sponsor, right? So we're sponsored right now. We will get that. You know what, John? I'm so sorry. I will get that information to you. There's a VI virtual assistant firm that is sponsoring us for the next few months. And we're excited about that. We're looking forward to building communities and having some of these conversations both on the business side and on the technical side at an even deeper level. So please, make sure you follow me, follow John, follow AI Biz Hour. It's the account we use to broadcast stuff and to keep track of things. Follow all of those accounts so you can get the latest and greatest, because we've got a number of things in the community that are coming up. So thanks again, John. And I will talk to you guys later. Please continue. Again, appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Andy. And just a little bit of house cleaning. Please, everybody, share the space. And if you have any networks, let them know about this. We're, really seeking to get quality developers here, and also people that are business owners. So this can be a bit of a incubator and a nurturer of relationships. Also, I must say, I'm a bit of a hard ass when it comes to this stuff. If you do show up here, do not say things that are not true. In other words, hey, oh, I know this guy, and I'm gonna have zero tolerance for stuff like that. This is really about building real relationships and really showing up. And please, if you're gonna say you're a dev or whatever, have a GitHub, or have some proof of what you're talking about. I do not want to waste my time ever. And I've been on some phone calls where it was like, hey, you know what? So eventually you get down to the nitty gritty, and it's just a bunch of garbage. That's not allowed here. So if you do that and then you show up, you might not be able to get the mic again. So just be prepared for that, because none of us have any time to waste, especially our lives are important, and we're all fighting for our families or our dogs, or just have a roof over our head, or who knows what, but everybody here needs to be fighting for something. So I will not take any of that lightly. So that's my rant. So then we have Jonathan, Lloyd, and then Fran.
Hey everybody, thank you for the mic. Hey, hi John. Hey. Yeah, my take on AGI is that like I don't think we are that close to AGI. Of course, there is a massive narrative that you keep on seeing all around with like all the different models, all the different companies. But in fact, like my take on that would be like let's look around us. I mean, you were out in the street today. Like, did you see any robots walking by your side, as like Andy was saying earlier on? Like, I mean, for me, and probably I'm wrong because I'm not like a very tech savvy person. I just identify some problem and I'm trying to solving them using AI. But like, I do deeply think that like AGI is related with robotics, and apart in some countries, because of course you can see like maybe in the UAE, or in China, or probably even in America. Matter of fact, I mean Europe, I don't see it nowhere. But apart from like the industrial world, you do not see robotics in the street. You do not see. So like my take on that is that like the AI is really challenging how we interpret intelligence, because for the past century and for probably like 150 years, something like that, we really identify intelligence with academics, with IQ, with all of that. But if in fact like there is a massive general intelligence that we tend to forget and that we are still part of, which is actually nature. I mean, the original true neural network is through nature, and nature showed us that intelligence is about adaptation, is about survival, is about trial and error. Nature is just like, and coming back to that, like it just keep on trying, failing, trying something like for a very long time. And I do believe that like we are talking in terms of models, in terms of AI models. Well, in fact, like if we take each species of each different kingdom, well, each of these are model of adaptation, of survival, and we could extract like this knowledge to actually use it in our business to solve different type of problem. That's, for example, as you probably all know, what Waze did using hands to actually solve like some traffic problems. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say. Thank you for the mic.
And Jonathan has found some interesting uses for AI in his day-to-day life. And I'm just kind of curious, has it evolved since last time we spoke? It was about a week or two ago. What are you continually doing? Because it's just your innovation and your action on it is inspirational, and I think everybody in the room could get a little a little wisdom off of what you're doing and where you're going with it.
Well, thank you very much, John. Thank you. Well, yeah, actually, I'm in the hospitality industry. So basically, my take on that is using AI to solve problem I faced working in this particular industry. I really want to use AI through this entrance door that I know through the problems I faced. And so, yeah, right now, I actually I'm building basically a solution with one client. One client I'm working with in Chalet. Chalet in the French Alps. These are like prestigious mountains houses, and so basically the idea here is these people they deal with like high-end customer, right? Sometimes they're paying like 50k euro per week, but in fact, like they do not have SOPs because, in the hospitality industry, you have like massive actors, like for example, Oracle, that build different type of software. One of the most known one is Opera. And the thing is that like, it seems that this side of the market is completely like they don't play with this side of the market, because the thing is that most of the software solution works with big actors. Of course, you have other solution, you have cloud beds, you have other types that are starting to use AI. But in fact, like this PMS, this property management system, what they do most of the time, they work with like reservation, accountants, all of these, right? And rooming and all of that. But when it comes to guest preferences, when it comes to complaints, when it comes to what will make and enhance the guest experience, they do not work with it. So what I'm trying to do right now, and I will have a meeting next week on Monday, actually, with the owner of this chalet. I will try to post something on X regarding that. But it's basically like to say, okay, I identify pain points in your area through my experience. You have identified pain points as well. I'm not a software developer, but I understand a little bit of AI and how I can use it in your property. Therefore, we should create an ecosystem of existing tools that we could use to actually solve this problem. So that's basically what I'm doing.
That's yeah. Last time we talked, you were using Chat GDP in your while you were working. So now that's evolved to solving problems of the people that you are running into. Is that's the case?
Yeah, precisely. That's that. And like, well, what I was telling you the last time is that like during my shift, I basically identify pain points and guest experiences. And what I do, I use Chat GPT through like just the voice note mode to just collect this data, because I do not have the time to just type it. And later on in the day, so I basically like create a project, like very simple usage of that. And then later on in the day, I just summarize all of this. So now I accumulated like for the past 3 weeks a huge amount of pain points. And what I've asked GPT, I said, okay, well, let's do some deep research to see what existing tools using AI exist to solve each of these problems. So when it comes to accountants, when it comes to guest preferences, when it comes to different type of communication and interaction between the different teams, the housekeeping teams, the butler, the private chef, etc., etc. And like it just provided me like a whole list of different tools. And the idea is just to plug these tools to each of like for each of these problem, so I can provide some solution.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Hats off to you. It's going to be very interested to see where all this goes. And definitely with your drive, ambition, and intelligence and use of these, you can kind of see that that's a skill set, you know, and it's going to be a skill set that is going to have a lot of is already showing value. So that's really awesome. I think we have is it Lloyd and then Fran and then Alicorn.
Yeah, I think Andy had mentioned he mentioned like autonomous cars, right? And he was talking about, how they, what they couldn't do yet as far as like going, sending to go pick up your kid, right? And like that, even though we're not quite there, just the fact that we're almost there is amazing when you think about what all it takes just for autonomous vehicle to make the decision to drive forward. Like just what it takes for it to make that decision, utilizing the sensors, making calculations, make sure it's even safe to drive forward. Just that alone is a very complicated process. So the fact that we're almost there, like there's a lot of autonomous vehicles that can do a lot as far as travel go, and do a great deal of avoiding accidents. But just the fact that we're almost there is amazing in itself when you think about that. There's tons of other things too, but like this is a great time to be alive. The way things are just advancing right before our very eyes. Even faster than it was before. Like I like to think that my lifetime it's one of those lifetimes where stuff has advanced so far and changed so much, you know. But then we're at a point in time where things are even changing, even advancing even faster than that. Where you know things that were came out last year are all of a sudden obsolete the following year. Is crazy. But that's where we are now. That's all. But Andy just made me think of that.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing somebody put out a app or a tool, and then all of a sudden Grok can do it. You know, it Grok doesn't have the dashboard, the UI that he created, but it's pretty much has the exact same functions. Fran, how are you doing?
Hello, John. Hello, Andy, Sunny, everyone. Nice to be here. Yep, I wanted to make some comments about how close or how far we are from AGI. Besides, as Jonathan was saying before, besides the narrative, and especially I forgot who was talking before me. I think it was Joy regarding specifically the driving, the autonomous driving, and so on. So, if I may, let's think together a little bit, and let's do a little bit of math. If you allow me to guide you on this approach, for because maybe this will help a lot of people to understand how far we are from AGI. Supposedly, AGI is gonna be an artificial intelligence that is sort of at the human level of intelligence, right? So let's do this math. The top, the most advanced models right now, they are trained around 20 to 30 trillion of tokens, right? Okay, if if we analyze a trillion, it's like three. It's not like it's 3 bytes of information around 3/4 of a word. So if we made the multiplication, that gives you 10 to 14. So that's a 1 with 14 zeros after of information. That is roughly about all the text information that is publicly available on the internet. That is a huge amount of information. No one can have any doubt about that. And if you if you analyze how long it will take for a regular human being to read all that information, it will be in the order of hundreds of thousands of years, several hundred thousands of years, in order for a single human being to read all that information. And that's completely a lot of information. But let's let's do another math. A child in his first 4 years of life is awake around 16,000 hours that he is awake. Okay, and the optical nerve towards our brain, it moves 2 megabytes of data per second. Okay, and if we do the math on those 16,000 hours, it gives us 10 up to 14 the same amount. So that's again one with 14 zeros uh, behind. So what it means is that in the first 4 years of life, a child processes on his brain the same amount of visual information as the top LLMs that we have today in the market. So for an AGI, that means an artificial intelligence that is at the human level, we cannot, without a doubt, we cannot reach to that only based on processing text information. And if we think about the models that have visual recognition, those models are far, far, far behind the LLMs in their ability of recognizing what is the environment, the real world. Because if you take Tesla, for example, that is the most advanced out self-driving system, if you take a Tesla out of the road, it cannot drive. Not even in a completely grassed environment. The self-driving, it will auto disconnect. It will automatically disconnect, and it won't be able to drive. And even if you manage to bypass those security systems that Tesla has to avoid that problem, the system will not be able to drive in how it's called, dirt road, uh, because it won't be able to recognize the obstacles. It won't be able to recognize a hole in the road. It won't be able to recognize almost anything. Why they are so advanced to drive? Because roads and the signs of the driving signs on the roads, the roads by themselves, um, it's a very, very tiny and a very specific set of things that the system is able to recognize, because you have lines on the sides of the roads, you have a line in the center that sometimes is dotted and sometimes is straight, and it's a very, very closed set of um, sorry, a very close set of objects that the system is recognizing in order to drive. But if you go to research papers and so on visualized models, they are they have very limited capabilities of recognizing complex objects, recognizing what is the connection and the relation between those objects that a human being can recognize instantly. If you go wherever and you see a house, let's say if you see a building, you recognize instantly if that building is a house, residential building, if the building is a factory, if that building is a warehouse, or if that building is an office building. You can be mistaken because maybe someone changed the use of a regular residential house to office building. Okay, you cannot be 100% certain, but you will guess in 97% of the cases that this building is a house or a factory or whatever. And the same with all the rest of the environment of of the world you live around you. So for getting close, I'm not saying reaching even AGI, for getting close to AGI, we definitely need for sure that the models are not only text-based models, LLMs. We need the visual models connected to, well, joined in a sense in the same model, the text based models and the visual recognition models. Because without the visual recognition models, we will not get even close to a human level artificial intelligence. Even though the models will get better in a sense, faster in a sense, not better because at the end they are just faster on analyzing text and making the guess of the next token and how they work. So besides the narrative and the smoke seller YouTubers and influencers and so on, that they are just clickbaiters and they are saying things just for the clicks. We are really far away, in my perspective, really far away from AGI or something similar. But the thing is that even the ones who are leading the artificial intelligence companies, they have they have made a really good trick because, okay, uh, Sam Altman has established what is going to be AGI. So it's very easy to reach AGI when you establish the threshold of what you can achieve. So they will say that next year is going to be AGI. I deny that for sure, and it won't happen. But they will say they will reach it, and they will have metrics that they have reached AGI because they established their own metrics. It's like I'm going to make a test, and I'm gonna rate my test before doing the test, and I'm gonna select the questions before doing the test, and then I'm going to do the test. Of course, I'm going to get a 10 on my test. So first, we need somehow to get um, um, sorry, international standards, sort of an ISO of what the hell is going to be defined as AGI, and then we will see if some models reach. But even though without the the visual the recognition models, that, as I said before, they are far behind the LLMs in their capabilities. We are not going to be not even close to what is supposed to be AGI. Nevertheless, they will say next year for sure, for the sales and for the investors and so on, that yeah, we have reached AGI just because we have introduced more data. Okay, maybe the next generation of models there will be in the order of, I don't know, 40, 50 trillion of tokens. Okay, they will still be behind what is a human level of intelligence. So that was what I wanted to say about AGI. And thank you, John, from Andy, for the space. And I'll be here to uh, have some more comments with you guys. And thank you for having me.
You put everything in a very in an excellent way to show us the gap of expectations and conversations and posts and all this other stuff to reality. And yeah, I've always my father's a physicist. He's been writing papers on artificial intelligence for 20 years. He goes to the Consciousness Convention in Tucson. They have Deepak Chopra and David Chalmers and all these people. And it's going to be claimed that it's found long before it's found. Most people aren't going to know to be discerning to understand if they're being told the truth, because all these ramifications come with, oh, now the computer can think and is smarter than everybody, and give your allegiance to the superior thing that shows up. Well, Fran, what's your background, and what have you been doing with AI to it sounds like it must be pretty interesting. I'm just really curious.
Well, I'm mostly a technology architect, software architect, and ethical hacker. I started with hacking on my 11 years. My first computer was Commodore 64K, so you can imagine how old I am. And I started on let's say on cybersecurity very early, because when my first joystick broke, I designed a silent alarm for the door of my bedroom in order to know when my mom or my uncle or my cousin got inside my home, sorry, my bedroom. And from there, well, I went to an American university. I studied computer science engineering, and I was working for 7 years on Atos Origin R&D department, and I was on the AI field way, years way before um, uh, this hype on this, because at the end, artificial intelligence has been around for decades. The issue is that before this advance on transformers and so on, the breakthroughs that happened in 2018, 19, and 20, that they were really um, uh, yeah, they were very interesting breakthroughs. The thing is that before that, big companies and huge corporations already had similar systems that we have today with ChatGPT, Grok, etc. The problem was the cost. The first neural network I saw in working on the R&D department in Atos Origin, it was around $800,000 of cost of machines. So that was something that only big corporations could handle to the development. Then this breakthrough on transformers arrived and make all the computing power, and also the distributed computing advanced a lot since 2004, 2005. But yeah, I've been around the AI field for quite a while.
And what are you currently doing, or what's your interests, or are you building? Are you just having fun? Where's
Well, right now I have my consulting company, and I mostly do IT consulting, all kinds of IT consulting. I've been lately doing some AI stuff because right now a lot of companies are they want to start using AI, building internal systems for their different tasks and approach. But I mostly do IT consulting in any aspect of technology, and also cybersecurity, also for corporations. Right now, I'm doing a lot of consulting for the in Europe we have this DORA directive that it was approved last year, but it's enforced this since the beginning of January this year. And this DORA directive is driving crazy a lot of financial companies because they have to change a lot of things in their structures, data centers, and the way they process financial data. So I also do that part of adapting financial companies to the DORA directive that is related to cybersecurity and resilience for companies, especially focused in financial companies, insurance, banks, financial institutions, card issues, credit debit card issues, and so on.
Have you? Because we were discussing this the other day in terms of solutions for all the new things that are going to be coming on. With a it, I remember on the internet, I do digital marketing, SEO, and all of a sudden, 1 year in Google Analytics, there was all this traffic from Ukraine and all these other places, and it was the beginning of the hacking and all of this other stuff, and there was a big push in terms of trying to figure out how to do security, and it seemed to it then there was an equilibrium at some point. So where are we now with what AI can do, and vulnerabilities and threats? Are we still trying to? We don't completely know what's going on, or is there good understanding of these things?
I mean, AI by itself has not changed a lot the cybersecurity field more than of course, right now, if you know who either the big models that you can jailbreak them, and they can provide malicious code. So there is, in a sense, a little bit of more easy access for malicious actors to get, malicious code developed. But besides that, and besides, for example, IBM, I forgot the name of the of the system. IBM designed a couple of years ago, and supposedly the hardest. Uh, it's like an AI that is a hacker, a malicious hacker, and supposedly it's very advanced and very difficult to detect and blah blah blah. But I've seen several test beds where they try to to make it attack a company with a blue team in charge of the company, and the AI failed miserably with a decent group of blue teamers. The AI supposedly unbeatable IBM hacking AI, and I made some tests with the EC Council, and like year and a half ago, and the supposedly great IBM AI failed miserably because at the end, as I mentioned before, human level intelligence is not a match yet for any AI. It can do very interesting things because it has a way. It's some sort of smart in the sense that it can detect when you are um, establishing measures to avoid the attack, and then it goes dormant for a while, expecting that you don't see you stop seeing the attack. But at some point, with a decent, I'm not saying the best, but with a decent group of blue teamers, uh, that AI failed miserably and was detected, blocked, and isolated. It was something around 6 to 8 hours. It was completely isolated and blocked the attack by a group of blue teamers from the EC Council. So AI is not in the field of cybersecurity, at least. Uh, Besides, as I said, that yeah, some new malicious actors have more easy access to develop malicious code, phishing attacks, and so on. Yeah, we've seen a lot of news. This group of hackers managed to make a huge attack on phishing. Yeah, they because you can make a pretty decent design of a phishing maneuver, and but at the end it's not that big deal that we are at risk in cybersecurity. We still have the same risk as before. There are pretty good black hat hackers that are messing around uh, worldwide, but the, it's just I always say that AI is just a tool, so it helps a little bit some areas, but I don't think that in cybersecurity right now is a real issue that we have to be really worried about.
Thank you so much for that information. Yeah, there's people who will speculate in all kinds of things, and that I think it's really important for the people that are like serious to understand what limitations and capabilities are, especially if you're out there talking to business owners or trying to find solutions for various problems. But I hope you come back. It's really great to hear your perspective and your experience. Thank you so much, Fran. Um, Alicorn,
Thank you for having me. I will be here for a while.
awesome. And raise your hand if you feel like the input. I'm probably going to leave at 2, which would be about a half an hour. I've got things I've got to do. Alicorn, how are you doing today?
Hey guys, I've just been enjoying the conversation and hearing, everybody's perspective and perceptions on where the industry is and where it's headed. I think it's unprecedented times as far as how the industry is going to shake out and shape up. And I'm excited that, with the true advancement of AI, the little guy gets an opportunity to take on Goliath. And, I think that comes into the form of disruption, right? And then you look at all the industries that AI impacts. I mean, I've never seen a disruption or um, a change in an industry so impactful. I think right now, when we're looking at AI, we have uh, concerns over how the ethics of those AIs are being built, who's in control of those AIs, are they telling us everything as consumers that we need to know? How do consumers gain more traction or adaptability to this amazing technology from a consumer standpoint? But more so, I think educating enterprise, on how they can maximize and get the most out of these new tools. Um, is the most impactful, right? Because then they can trickle down and start the true education to their clientele, right? Because anytime a business enters a market and the product or service is new, there's a learning curve, right? But you do have what's called early adapters in that marketing aspect, right? When you're trying to pitch that product or service. So I think, moving forward, people are going to be very amazed about not just in robotics, but how they work at work, how they interact with their kids, how they monitor their kids, their health. I think this touches a whole lot of industries that makes someone who is in this timeline. Obviously we all are very excited, and you see those hyper cycles of advancement, like the gentleman Lloyd was speaking about, how one year something is popular and then the following year it's obsolete. And I think you'll start seeing those cycles become shorter and shorter as things like automation for AI or quantum computing comes into play, right? Because my company, we specialize in AI and quantum, and quantum allows you to work in parallel, and AI can, work in tandem with quantum to get the task done. So I think it's just, you know, and I think either Andy or yourself, as the host, mentioned this about how uh, people in my generation or in this timeline currently are standing on the shoulders of people who have come before us, and I think that is so true in every aspect of the sense. Just because, I don't think I would have been able to achieve some of the things I've been able to achieve, without the many of contributors and so forth and so on. So I think you'll start seeing a lot of smaller guys come into the marketplace in the next 6 to 12 months. DeepSeek was a really good addition to show and prove to the market that it could be done for cheaper and you can scale. You don't have to throw billions of dollars at a problem. And I think that's what AI is really here for. It's to mitigate and to loosen some of those bottlenecks in our business or our everyday lives so that we can make more impactful um, decisions and or tasks. And that comes with that automation phase. So I'm really excited. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
You're welcome. And yeah, no, this is one of the better spaces for these discussions. Actually, I don't know of a better one. And yeah, please follow myself and Andy and sign up for the newsletter. We're gonna have things going on in the future, and I think it's an important uh, way to keep in touch, to understand what we're doing, because we're doing things offline as well as on the space. So if you sign up to the newsletter, it's my newsletter and the community. And so I highly recommend everybody who's participating in this space and who's finding value in here does that, because there's more going on here than just a space. Lloyd, how are you doing? And what would you like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing well. I agree with Fran as far as there's comments about AGI being pretty far away. Um, but I think, the focus on AI milestones should not be where we should be focusing. We should be focusing on really the usability, and and figuring that part out. Um, one of the things I think you had mentioned was, someone that came out with, a tool, then, Grok was able to do it, but it had a user interface. And, you know, the more advanced AI gets, as far as in the current implementation that we use it, the less cases where a actual user interface will be necessary. Because the user interface, typically is necessary when you're doing things yourself. And there's things you need to see, things things you need to click on. But if you have it being automated and it's being done autonomously, well, you don't have to look at it anymore. And so a lot of user interfaces will be won't even be necessary no more. The way we leverage apps won't be the same anymore because it won't, we'll be relying, for better or for worse, for our implementation of AI and automation to be fulfilling a lot of tasks for us instead of us having to go through and doing them manually. And so, it's about, in some ways, kind of learning to be more forward thinking. Sometimes we kind of build things based on things are now or what they used to be instead of building forward and thinking about where things are going. And one of the, when people are doing things where all of a sudden an update to Chat GPT or Grok kind of makes them obsolete, it's because, one of the things that's going on that I think, it's like this AI gold rush that people keep participating in, which is understandable. But the problem is we don't even know what AI is going to be yet. Like we don't know what that looks like. We're trying to envision it, we're trying to picture it, we're trying to see it, and and there's lots of ways we're trying to predict it, and in doing so, it's very risky because you know we make an enhancement or we decide to do something that uh those big ones are not doing, and all of a sudden because it gets traction, and what happens? They hit a switch, and now they're doing it, and now the new feature that you added to it all of a sudden it doesn't even matter anymore. And then that's the danger. And that's also the danger when you're building or on something that you don't control, right? You're building on a technology or leveraging a platform you don't control. That's the same thing that a lot of uh, app developers face when it comes to like Apple, more so Apple than Google. But Apple, Apple all of a sudden add that feature to iOS, and now no one's using your app no more, right? And so that's where it's about, in my opinion, it's not just about building a cool feature or exploiting a need. You kind of want to have your own ecosystem to a certain degree, or your own system that it's not just about one part or one piece, but it's about providing an entire suite of integrated services or integrated feature set that is hard to replace with just one update. Now, as AI gets more advanced, it'll probably be a lot easier to replace a multitude of features, right? But we're not there yet. And then too, it's also about not doing the things that everybody can just simply do with AI, but pushing the limits, doing the more complicated things. If it's something that anybody can do, then it's going to be easy to replace, right? I always laugh when people say, "Oh, this person copied me. This person took my idea." Well, you got an easy idea apparently. Your idea is too simple. Your idea is too basic. So, the issue is not, that someone's stealing your idea. The problem is you're not even thinking hard enough. You're not pushing the envelope enough. Because if you're doing something, if you're doing something at a certain level, it's going to be hard for people to replicate, even if they want to. And that's what you want to be doing. You don't want to be doing these simple ideas that anybody can just take. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? And that's the kind of, I think that's kind of like a way older school mindset, you know, and then two, we're also getting to a point where intellectual property, well, no matter how you feel about it, may not even be a thing no more because of what, a lot of things that AI is able to replicate and say. Like, we're at this age where, a lot of the barriers that prevented us from doing stuff are being removed, you know, via AI. And there's a lot of things where there's a benefits, and there's also a lot of areas where there's drawbacks depending on where you're standing, right? And so, the idea that you can pretty much compose a movie simply by talking to AI is freaking amazing. But that does make a lot of people who are already in the space kind of replaceable. If you could just create an actor, like, an actor that has the characteristics of Denzel, just by, talking, to your computer basically. Because I look at AI as more so being a user interface, basically talking to your computer and describing what you want this actor to do, and how you want them to be. That's amazing, but it's also scary for people who are in that space, right? Or even be able to compose music in the same way, or, you know, and a ton of other things you'll be able to do just by talking. I mean, it's like the new Jarvis, in some ways, right? If you've seen Jarvis, it's like this is where things are going. To be like Jarvis, you can kind of anything you can kind of conceive, you'll be able to create, and make possible. So it is scary, if you're thinking about job security per se. But if you're from a creativity standpoint, from someone who, if you always had like limited resources and things that were like, these barriers put in place where you couldn't do it, like, oh, you couldn't afford a lawyer, so you can't draw up contracts, or you didn't have a grant writer, so you didn't have nobody to write grants for you, or you didn't have anybody to do financial auditing, or all a ton of things that now you can just employ AI to do. you know that pretty much now puts you where this removing your excuses. There's no one in your way but you now. And depending on, I guess your level of self-confidence, that's either a scary thing or it's an amazing thing. But you know, that's how I look at AI. I never looked at AI like, oh my God, it's coming to take my job. I look at AI from like, oh man, all the stuff I always wanted to do, I can do now. What I mean? And I think, that's the beauty of it.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's interesting. So I went to Grok and said, give me a deep research about job growth or diminishing. And it's saying the next 10 years, yeah, 18% increase in software developers, personal finance about 18%, computer occupations an 11% increase. These are all increases. Lawyers, even lawyers. It said, while AI displaces some jobs, it drives growth in high skilled technology related fields, whereas often augmented the human capabilities rather than replacing them. Because this is the kind of theme of the past 2 days, is it's not ready for prime time on its own. And what Fran was saying in terms of the token use, like the combo, it's stuck in a computer or it's stuck in a car. It has no conceptual understanding of the world, being a parent, being a child, going to school, having to pay your bills, walking around in the world and all these other things. And it has no intellect. It has no ability to think. So can never get beyond, in many cases there, it just has these blind spots that I don't see in the current form. Because really, one thing that a couple people who I speak with regularly, they're like, well, let's pay attention to today. And what can we do today? We can speculate and all these other things. And so today there are huge blind sections that there's just nothing, but then it can do these amazing things. So it's a magician. You see a trick, you're blown away. That's impossible. There are some of these magicians that do things. Get in a box for 40 days and they don't eat or whatever, who knows. But uh but it's fantastic. But in the end, like Santa was saying, what is it, what can it really do? So we have this weird time where there's not even verbiage of the industry. It's especially, I said this before, I'll say it again. I did a little marketing research, and there are no reviews for any company creating any AI agent or pretty much almost anything. No Google reviews. There's, in the SEO field, in my field, digital marketing, there are 4 companies that are solving problems that are being talked about. Um, so I'm sure there's things that are happening outside. I mean, I know Sannon's doing amazing things, but it's it your average person, you go to them and you talk about this industry, and yeah, they, unless they're using AI on a regular basis, they have really don't no idea what you're talking about. Fran, let's go to you and then Sanan or
Yeah,
San.
yeah, just very briefly, regarding what people says about AI taking our jobs. Okay, AI is a tool. Okay, it's like a screwdriver, a hammer, or whatever tool you want to mention. The AI is not going to take your job. Another human being that knows how to use AI better than you might take your job. But AI by itself, at some point, as someone was saying before, okay, at some point, robots, when we start seeing real robots on the field or on factories and so on, they might take some, but not all, some of the most, let's say, uh, hand hand related jobs. Things like carrying stuff from here to there and so on. But you can see already, if you go to YouTube and check how Amazon distribution centers work, they already have very advanced robots that handle packages, and they move packets from here to there and so on. So at some point, when the robots are more advanced, they might take some, but not all of jobs. And I'm gonna give you a very short example. Even when we get an AI that is able to deploy to develop software source code without with security, with structured code, not spaghetti code like that they develop right now. Because if you check on Twitter, the issue with the cursor AI, that a lot of people have been deploying applications you generating code with cursors. Right now they are closing their applications because they have a lot of problems in security, a lot of problems in performance, and so on. But even if we reach the point when an AI is able to develop source code properly, coding is like 30% of a software engineer work. So you're gonna still need the software engineer in order to perform 70% of the tasks that are not specifically related to coding. And again, coding AIs will be a tool that will make software engineers more efficient and make the work better. But it's gonna be, as I said before, another human being that is able to manage and to use the AI better than you, that will might take your job, but not the AI by itself.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And I did a not some. I love doing market research and looking for pain points and concerns or what have you. So, people entering the workforce in their early 20s, there have a high rate, and also it depends on their education and their skill, of concern about losing their jobs to AI. That's kind of something that's talked about on Reddit and Twitter and everything. And AI is a tool if you have skills and expertise. If you don't, it doesn't have that same output. So there is going to, people who have been doing things for a long time have gotten very good skills and expertise. You get them in front of AI and it's like, oh wow, I can do X, Y, and Z. This is exciting. For those that don't have that, it's going to be tougher. And but there are, and also we live in this kind of weird, crazy time where the news is not news anymore. It's editorials. Back in the day, if there was a news story, you had to have two sources. Neither of them could be anonymous. They had to be named, and it had to be verified and checked, and it was only the news. It wasn't editorializing. At the end of the news, there'd be like, oh, this is the editorial, this is my opinion about this. And now there is no real news anymore. It's all editorial. And everything is a click to make more money, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, there's these artificial concerns and stuff. And so I think it is important that people, especially developers or who knows, come to the space and kind of be reminded periodically about what reality is, and not the posts that you see, the news stories that you hear, the headlines and all this other garbage. Because yes, your jobs, if you are a coder right now, you're the wizard, you're the magic man. Your job's not going anywhere. Sonnen?
Hey, John. I like what Fran said in a first response, and I didn't want to chime in with this with different stuff regarding the jobs. But Tesla with their FSD or FDS, whatever it's called in China, for one night got 7 tickets. So if that system is so good, how this happened? And then the second question we can ask, if they are the best selling car in China, how this actually happened. So there is somebody lying something there. Regarding the financial industry jobs, I don't think AI can replace or impact anyone except analysts. Like wealth advisor or personal finance advisor, it cannot do this stuff because there are different licenses. Like every year, I need to renew my license on Series 65 exam, Uniform Investment Advisor Law exam. So it costs like $200, and without this license, I cannot do anything what I'm doing. So how AI is going to obtain this license, and how regulation and when regulation is going to be placed in, and these regulations are like taking a long time to be published and active, except in cases where there is a big harm, and then there is a entire case build, and then they're placing it. Same works for the lawyers and paralegals, because they all have to renew the license at the state bar every year. So in terms of analyst, I think AI already replaced every single analyst out there. In terms of the jobs that are licensed, the jobs, especially in finance, like I really don't see like how AI is going to replace investment banker. No way, like no way. Or somebody who is let's say an analyst that serves as a third party authenticator of the formed strategy or formed PR that is going to be published out there. No way. There are too many complexities and context as like I don't see it being able to do it even with all of the information. And banal example, um simple due diligence. Yes, it can do it. It can collect the data, it can analyze the data and everything. Can it prepare you to negotiate? No way. No way. I've tested, and it failed so much. It failed so much that I don't even relying on it anymore to give me any sort of advice in terms of negotiations or in terms of a full due diligence build up. So if it doesn't have functionalities to really progress in, nothing is going to happen. It's just going to be yet another automation tool, what it is actually. And the reason why you found none of the reviews and none of the people talking about companies how doing it, this is still a risk. Like in my particular case for Taxaru, every single client we have, 4,000 of them, said that they are scared this can take their job. It has capabilities to do taxes end to end, no doubt, but it cannot file taxes to IRS because there is no regulation for the agent to do it. You have a different system where you can personally file taxes to IRS on their website. What is completely different thing. So I think the problem that companies having is to separate it from the automation. Like really all agents are doing is the automation and steroids, and that's all. And then companies are selling this internally. Like that's what we are doing. That's everyone else I know they're doing the same way. So hey, we have an agents, we have specialist in AI. You should try it, you should check it, and so on and so on. And everyone are still in this testing phase because people are like this is the technology people are super rejective to just one last example, and I will stop here. Last week we interviewed guy who really like the capabilities of the agent and everything, and he was really into it. So our agent does not have problem with the accent like I'm having accent. There are two other members in the team that have accent. uh Dude find excuse with an accent. Oh, I tried it, I tested, but it somehow doesn't understand me, somehow doesn't get me, like it gives me the different answers. And we have a Russian guy who is having like very hard accent, super hard accent, like brother, you know what from the movies, this kind of the accent. uh and it understands him completely clearly, like no problem. But when he saw the capabilities of this thing, I think between the lines, reading between the lines, he figured out, oh, this can replace me. And these are the things why it's still not yet out there in terms of being advertised, in terms of being like for us seeing the reviews and everything. This is, I'd say freely this is under the table offer for the clients, which goes literally and strictly internally. So if you have the clients, you are using it to upsell them.
That makes total sense. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's talked about everywhere, but then you can't find it. Or you can't find a specific reference to it in the place that you're looking for. Google review. Google review, you make an agent to troll all the Google reviews online looking for very specific things. And I was pretty shocked that it's just not there yet. And it'll be interesting to see how this transforms. And yeah, I think for liability reasons that it might somebody was saying just don't mention AI, just I can do this. Or the company can do this X, Y, and Z, and just leave AI out of it. Might be the best way to handle that issue at this time. And there's going to be some crazy story where somebody does something uh that has a bad effect at some point, I would imagine. And we'll see how people react to it or whatever. Where somebody just does something very reckless with clients information or something. People have a tendency to make poor decisions once in a while, and it to be big news and everybody hear about it and assume that that's the way everything is. So yeah, we really haven't even gotten the pullback and the reaction and the freak out. And the one thing that really blows my mind, when I was younger, I'm a little older, they had hearings in Congress where they bring the smartest people about any kind of subject that was coming up. They would put them down in front of all the Congress people, and both sides would ask questions of the people that wasn't political. Just like, oh, okay, so you're the smartest person with this. We're having X problem for what, blah, blah, blah. And that has not, I don't, um, they did that with the 20 with 2008 when they had the financial crash. They did bring a bunch of hedge fund people up to speak to Congress, and uh, Jim Simons was there, George Soros, some other people, and that was happened. But I think that was the last time I've really seen something that's on everyone's mind, that's being addressed in that way. And I think that's a real disservice, because then and that but it's good for us because it makes this room much more valuable. We're having that discussion, and that's one of the reasons why, like when Fran came up or anyone comes up here, I really like to ask them questions to understand who they are, and so the room and everyone can understand the perspective of the people speaking. So we have this is an incubator, this is a bit of a little mastermind. We're all wrestling with these questions, and by having everybody speak from their perspective and understanding their background, when we can make more informed decisions and build relationships outside of the room with people here, when they show up on a regular basis, and they become trusted and feel good about it. Things like that are happening here at the room now, so it pays to show up on a regular basis and speak up and let us get to know you. It is 2:09. It is a sunny, beautiful day out. I'm going to go for a walk and do some other things. I got a lot of work to do. I really appreciate everyone showing up today. I really appreciate Sanan, of course, always, and Jonathan. Yeah, I am very interested to hear how things go. You really doing great work. Fran, pleasure talking to you, and please come back again. Oko, I hope to hear from you. Julie, please let us know about you at some point. I really like your website, and you're part of Tech in Schools community. And everyone else here, Josh and Dev and Freeman and Jared and Nathan, Heaven, Core, Victor. Really appreciate, this room is only as interesting and as helpful and as valuable as the people that are in it and those that speak up and contribute. So please go to my account, click on my head, and join the newsletter so you can be informed and you can be really part of the community by joining the newsletter. So it has AI John Allen beehive.com, and really would appreciate it if you show up for that. Follow me, follow the other speakers, come back on a regular basis. We're continuing this conversation for a long time. But we have no plans on ending anytime soon. We do this Monday through Friday from 12 noon till 1 o'clock Pacific time, and then we have an after hour show, and that's what we're in right now, and that goes till 2 or 3 o'clock, depending on people that are speaking, stuff I have to do, and blah blah blah, and all that other stuff. So thank you again for everyone who contributed. Thank you so much for I'm telling you, you show up here on a regular basis, the stuff really does bleed into your day to day, and it does help. Um, I'm a testament to that, and I'll get into some details about things that are going on outside of the room because of the room. So this is more than just a space. All right. Well, that's the end of my rant, and I am going to take off now. So thank you again for contributing, and have a great day, and we will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much.